From Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry to Alvin Davis and Harold Reynolds to father and son back to back bombs. From Junior J, Joey, and Edgar with Randy, A-Rod, Dan, and the Sheriff to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C to King Felix, Kyle Cruz, and Cano to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. My, oh my, our Mariners are rolling. The 2025 NFL draft has officially finished, and the NBA and NHL playoffs are in full swing. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. We got to give a huge shout out to super producer Indy out there in Nashville, Tennessee, rocking the ones and twos. That's Vaden Podcast Services. Vaden Podcast Services. They bring this show to life. Thank you so much. Got to give a huge shout out to all the homies in the live chat. Coming at you a little later again this evening. RG is on his super grind this weekend. I was down there enjoying myself at T-Mobile Ballpark, so we had to do it a little bit later today. But y'all know the best co-host a dude could ever ask for. He's cooler than a polar bear's toenails. RG, what's going on, man?
Man, in here with a lot to try to get to in a short amount of time, so let's not keep the people waiting. Let's get to work.
Let's do it, baby. Well, speaking of doing work, man, our Seattle Mariners, after a putrid 3-7 start, bro, have gone 13-5 since then. That's six straight series wins after being swept at San Francisco. That puts the Mariners at 16-12 and in first place. There's a lot of positives. There's a couple of negatives that really worry me. But RG, talk to me about our favorite baseball team.
Third best record in the American League. And for some reason, we still can't figure out how to win a game on a fucking Tuesday. But as long as we keep playing well the rest of the weeks, I guess Tuesdays don't really matter until we get later on in the year. Sunday evening media, yeah, it's still a little bit too early to be excited. Still only April, but if you would tell me that we would be in a position where we're down two keys in our starting rotation and have the third best record in the American League, I take it all day.
Oh, hell yeah, hell yeah. We're going to get to the pitching injuries here in a minute, but I just got to say this, man. I haven't said this in 5 to 10 years, probably closer to 10. But are the Mariners a good hitting baseball team right now? We're eighth in runs, we're sixth in slugging, sixth in on base percentage, seventh in OPS, third in home runs, first in walks, and third in stolen bases. And I repeat, RG, the only stat that truly matters at the end of the day when it comes to offense is eighth in runs. The lineup has picked up a pitching staff where a couple guys in the bullpen like Trent Thornton are making me nervous as hell every time. We need to see more out of Luis Castillo. We need to see more out of Bryce Miller. And your boy, Logan Gilbert, goes down hurt Friday night. Thank the Lord he's not going to need a Tommy John surgery or something of that nature. But talk to me, man. You've been touting he's the ace for years now. Just tell me what you think about the injury and the pitching staff and the bats actually have come alive.
From what I understand, is forearm tightness. Be out for approximately 2 weeks. Hopefully, gets a chance to heal up and get better. I don't see us going extremely far without the magic that he could spin up on the mound once every fifth day. But it's really about the offense right now, and it's very rare that from this vantage point we get to come in here and brag about how well our bats are doing and how well everybody seems to be performing. So let's give these guys their flowers while they deserve them. Cal's bat has been on fire. Reigning American League Player of the Week, Dustin Moore, is just playing outside of his mind. Even Master Boney and Williamson are coming through in the clutch when we need them. The thing that I'm going to harp on that is still a little disappointing to me is that the guy who's the biggest payroll on the market. Yeah, I mean the biggest payroll on the team is still hitting a buck 96.
Mm-hmm.
Still hitting a buck 96. So we definitely need him to get it going and get it going while everybody else is going, not to have him hot while everybody else is cooled down. But top to bottom, man, we're doing what we have always wanted Mariner teams to be able to do, just to come in and get one on the ball, not relying on home runs. Got the stat here. Other than Cal, other than Cal and Polanco, no one else is near 10 to 11 at bats per home run. You got Cal at 10.9, Dylan Moore at 11.7, and Polanco at 9.9. So, what that's saying to me is we are taking better approaches at the plate, which is what we expected. Having Edgar, having his hands on our hitting program, and just hope it continues. It's still a long way to go, but to be sitting here competing with the best is all we've really asked for. Is all we really have asked for. So hats off to the offense, man. You've been doing your thing.
Yeah, man, for real, for real. Texas Power Ranger, first 2 weeks, he thought that the Mariners were cooked. I did too. Because not only 3-7's a bad record, but that's a long way in the baseball season. They were playing a bad brand of baseball at that time, though. Errors in the field, knuckleheaded plays running the bases, not necessarily swinging at quality strikes. Like the brand of baseball was bad, so was the record. They've completely turned it around. I want to give a shout out to Dan Wilson, though, also. A manager can really only do so much in baseball, but the team's playing aggressive, and you're absolutely right. We need more from Julio. I expect we'll get more from Julio. There was one thing on Sunday afternoon that made me so damn happy, though, bro. Was Julio just hit a simple single between first base and second base to bring home 2 runs? That's what we need, man. We know that this guy can play, but he puts too much pressure on himself. He tries to force home runs to happen, and when this young man stays within himself, the sky's the limit. So on the early season, Julio's had some fantastic plays in the field. He's had some mammoth home runs. But my favorite play so far is just that simple single to right field to bring home 2 runs. That's what we need more of. And I just want to piggyback on what you were saying about a couple of hitters. Jorge Polanco. He's been fucking on fire and unbelievable this year, bro. Saturday night, he hits 2 home runs. Sunday, he is performing the laser show. I mean, every single way you look, every part of the diamond, absolutely screaming memes. Love it. Cal Raleigh tied for the league lead with 10 home runs. What can you say? I'm a give you some props again. You were telling us last year that Cal Raleigh was the best catcher in baseball. You were a little ahead of the curve. I don't think many people can argue that shit right now when we're talking about both sides of the ball. And freaking Dylan Moore is an absolute menace against lefties, dude. Against lefties, Dylan is 385 average and a 1.446 OPS. Moore is literally one of the best hitters against lefties in all of baseball right now. I'm pumped about this team, and I want to give one more shout out to Andres freaking Munoz. The dude has pitched 14 innings and hasn't allowed a run this year. And I want to give some credit to Dan Wilson again on this, dude, because in previous years, the strategy was to use Munoz in whatever high leverage situation they felt necessary. Dan Wilson has made a commitment that Munoz, you are the ninth inning closer. They gone back in time a little bit. They went away from the analytics, and they are absolutely getting the best out of our all-star closer. So kudos to Dan and Andres Munoz just bringing the fire, and I freaking love it.
Strange what can happen when you just let baseball players play baseball and not overthink and let a computer tell you how real life situations go, because there's always the variable that not all situations are always the same, and that's a glitch in the matrix when it comes to statistical psychology. um, trying not to sound smarter than I am, but I did take a course in that a couple years ago. So that's the only reason why I could be able to say that. But yeah, man, for sure. Just seeing them do what classic baseball, and that's exactly what we're doing is coming out there and just playing a 9 inning game and not trying to appease what the computer says we should be doing in order to be able to win. Dan has done a great job of changing the mindset. It definitely seems that we are stronger as a force just from following and watching things. There's not the, oh my God, we're down, it's already over, and then that just carries for 2, 3 games before we can get it right. Definitely seems like a different time in the Pacific Northwest. It is still early, but the way that this is trending, let's find a way to be able to keep it hot. And you're absolutely right, Mariners Lifer. Um, this team with the healthy Robles right now, God knows where we could be.
Mm.
And the fact that we're playing well, missing key pieces, is just a sign that we're going to add talent as we go on down the line in the season, getting back 2 pitchers and getting back a guy like Robles. So first month for what are we 30 days in now from opening day, first month review. Man, gotta give it a B. Gotta give it a B. Can't give it an A because of the way that it started, but definitely the way we're
Mm.
playing, man, gotta give it a B. Being able to move forward and just hope we can keep the momentum going. Got the Angels and see if we can keep pushing them down farther in the standings while we continue to rise.
I think B is a very fair grade, dude. I really think that's a really fair way to look at it. I do want to touch on a couple of negatives. We got to keep it real here. And I'm going to be a little bit to blame here, man. So I took my little sister to T Mobile Park this afternoon, and Trent Thornton comes in, and my sister was a great softball player in her time. Doesn't isn't a huge pro sports fan, but one thing we know, RG, if you know baseball, if you know softball, you know the other sports, so you can just hop in and understand the dynamics right away. I look at her and I was like, I get nervous every time Thornton comes in. We're up 7-3. They get two guys on base, and I just jinx the living fuck out of the team. I turned to her and I'm like, we got a good lead, but they're one swing away from making this a very close ball game. Literally, the next swing after I said it, the dude parks it out in left field. Trent Thornton has a 7.71 ERA, and although he's had some good moments in the last couple years, RG, not only does his production need him to go back to AAA, I think it would be really good for him as a player because right now he cannot find a quality strike with his breaking ball. And in Major League Baseball, if you can't throw a quality strike with your off speed pitches, these hitters will feast on you. And that's what they're doing here. And then a little bit on the funny side, bro. Donovan Solano, we know is struggling to even hit 100. We're all wondering how long he'll even be on the team. But damn it, dude, he hit a rope down the left field line today, and I swear Solano's the slowest major leaguer I've ever seen around the bases.
You never seen Daniel Vogelbach run a base before?
Okay, fair enough. You don't appreciate how slow or fast a player is until you see him in person, though. I was just like, holy shit, this dude's a big leaguer. But yeah, you're right. The Vogie Hoagie. That's why he'd be my first pick for slow pitch softball, not necessarily big league play.
Absolutely, man. Just park one and just don't worry about running. That's all he has to do. Um, yeah, Thornton definitely needs a class on something with his mechanics. There's just a little bit something wrong with him right now. If we're going to keep running him out there in positions, we got to make sure that he leaves the keys to the safe in the dugout. That way, he's not just giving up the bounty every time that he goes off. But those are problems that I think is early enough in the season to be able to be worked on. And
Mhm.
just taking the time and trying to bring him along to me it's going to be Julio. To me it's going to be Julio. I need the guy who's making hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to perform
Mhm.
and not just give it to us the last half of the year when things are beginning to fade. We need him to be hot with the rest of the team. Um, Flying in the V is how I've heard it described that as the team is progressing and moving forward, just like birds in migration, need everybody to be flying in the V during their part to help us get to where we want to get. But again, it's only still the first 30 days of the season. A lot of baseball to be able to be played. But hats off to the guys, man. Just adversity is a privilege, and they've been answering the bell for right now.
Hell yeah. What a great quote, man. What a great quote. I got a question then, and this is piggybacking on what you said and what Mariners Lifer put up in the live chat. We miss Robles. We need a healthy Robles. You're wanting more from Julio. I think everyone wants more from Julio, including himself. I don't think Julio is a very good leadoff hitter. Robles isn't coming back till July at best. J.P. Crawford was batting sixth in the lineup on Sunday afternoon compared to starting the year last in the lineup. JP has hit 349 the last 15 days and 421 the last 7 days. RG, do you consider moving JP to the leadoff spot, or do you want to keep him where he's at?
Keep him where he's comfortable. Keep him exactly where he's comfortable at right now.
Okay.
Where we don't need to change. We can change it on Julio's expense
Okay.
to sacrifice someone else playing well just to try to get him going. How do they say it? Cutting off your nose to spite your face. We definitely can't do that right now. Get the guy in the cage and let him do some work. Julio is averaging 3.4 pitches plate appearance, while the team average is at 4. So it's definitely something about his approach and mentality that we need to come around. And even you said today, seeing him get that single, hopefully that sparks it. It's like, hey, I can contribute without hitting 450-foot bombs, and the bombs will come.
Mhm.
One of the other quotes I like is from Scott Rowland, who says, "A home run is a double gone wrong." So let's just work on staying on the plane to put the bat on the ball. We don't need to worry about launch angle right now. We just need to worry about contact. Um,
Mhm.
just need to worry about contact with that guy. But again, with where we're at right now, don't want to harp on anything overly negative about it. The boys are playing good ball and just gotta keep the momentum going. Shout
No
out
doubt.
Tommy, welcome man. Whether you're late or not, happy to have you be a part of the show. Uh Dyson, man, gotta talk to me about your Royals, bro. Gotta talk to me about your Royals. Didn't expect to see the regression. Thought that they would be leaders of the pack again right now. But like you said, man, they might need some pitching and see what we can do to work something out to maybe send you some pitching, you send us some hitting.
Yeah, I feel that. Except our Mariners are getting thin pretty quick in the pitching
Sure
department.
are.
Tommy, we have not gotten to the draft. We'll get into that in a minute. We had to dive into our beloved Mariners first. RG, I got two more shout outs on the Mariners I really want to get to. Ben Williamson, rookie third baseman, called up almost out of desperation. That young man's hitting 310 and playing fantastic defense at third base, which I don't think ever gets enough credit for how difficult of a position it is to play. The ball gets on you faster than any other position by far. You got to be a little bit crazy to even want to play there. You have to have really soft hands and a cannon for an arm and be able to also throw with the cannon at weird angles. Williamson has impressed me so much, and I love his compact swing. His nice little compact swing is going to keep him from having those horrendous, shitty slumps that many power hitters seem to have. And then seeing him in person today, major league debut for young Logan Evans, starting pitcher. Miami's a great spot for a young pitcher to make their major league debut. But I thought he was really solid, and what I really liked, RG, is he seems to already have a good feel for mixing up his speeds, mixing up his pitches, and his fastball is going to be low to mid 90s, it looks like. So, a guy like that, it's going to be critically important for him to be a master of changing speeds and mixing up his pitches. And for his first start, I was really impressed in how he did that. So, kudos to the young man. And we're going to need more from him because these guys got to somehow keep the ship from sinking until Kirby and Gilbert get back. Because Lord knows, those are our two major stud horses that we got to have in the race.
Absolutely, man. I just have wondered why. What's the value of having a great farm system if you don't try to see what those guys can do up at the major league level? Are we trying to start a dynasty in Modesto? Or are we competing, or are we competing to get to and win the World Series finally? And I think about what Houston did. Houston fans were probably as frustrated as we were that they weren't going out spending hundreds of $1 million on free agency, but they brought up a lot of guys through the pipe and had so much depth that when it came time to have to break bread and pay, they sent off Correa, they sent off Springer, and still got the three World Series and won one without him. You got to find out what those guys are worth, and you got to be able to give them a chance. So to see Williamson come up from that, it just makes me wonder what type of value we have there, and if they can come up and actually perform, and if that'll stop us from screaming that you guys need to go out and bring $30 million. It'll help them out. It'll definitely help out the way that the front office is perceived. But again, the thing with prospects, man, and maybe that'll be how we'll transition into talking about the NFL draft. It's all really a lottery, trying not knowing what
Mhm.
you have and who can do what. And really, we spent 3 days watching guys get hired, and then we'll spend the next 8 months critiquing whether or not they should have a job or not. So, but you got to at least give them some type of chance to perform. Or again, what do we have? What's the point of having a top 10 farm club?
Yeah, no doubt. To
Yeah.
quote a local Seattle Times writer, RG, you don't hang banners for minor league system rankings.
I had a friend of mine who is from Boston who was at the game on Friday night, and he sent me a picture of the Mariners captain hats that they were giving away, and I wish he could have got me an extra one because I'd love to have one. But he also sent a picture of the banners, and he was like, "At this point, I take those things down," and was like, "You know what? He's fucking absolutely right."
Mhm.
that 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 resembles success of a team that is in the way rear view of most fans today, and to have something to actually shoot for to put some history up there on it. It's a shame to see. It almost made me embarrassed when he sent me that picture, but
Mhm.
uh, can't deny just where we're at. I mean, we hang our hats on 2 good years where we went head to head with the Yankees, and one year where we set a record for the most wins, and haven't we've only had one other season to celebrate ever since then. But with the way that these guys are playing and training, we might have something to celebrate. But we can't get out too far in front of that too early because it's still only the 27th of April.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, like you so eloquently said, we're talking about the Mariners prospects, and I want to see these young guys come up when they're ready. It's hard to ever know when a prospect is truly ready, though. Some guys have fantastic stats and suck in the big leagues. Then you have Wu and Bryce Miller, who had very mediocre to poor stats in the minors and came up and were instant successful pitchers. So you never really know. But we all know the NFL draft once again had higher ratings than last year's NBA Finals. It's that damn popular. And before we even get into the nitty gritty of the situation, we all, including myself, act like you know what you see, you know what you're talking about. But at the end of the day, we have humans evaluating other humans, and we're arguably the most imperfect species on the planet. So this will obviously be an imperfect science to get it right. And that's why there's so many busts and also overlooked players that have fantastic careers.
Telling you, man, the GOAT was drafted, what, in the sixth round?
199th.
The GOAT was drafted in the sixth round, pick 199. We're about to watch a dude in San Francisco get paid who is Mr. Irrelevant. You never know what you got until you run him out there. But even with that being said, What were your thoughts on the draft? Some of the marquee names that got picked, obviously the one who didn't get picked into the fifth round, and how you feel your team did trying to build a winner there in the Pacific Northwest.
On
And then you guys in
paper,
the live chat, tell us what you think about how your teams did, and we'll get to you guys for rocking with us too. Happy to have
on
happy to have
paper,
the
I
guys watching
love
tonight.
it. On paper, I love what the Seahawks did. I couldn't be happier, RG. When it comes down to the Seahawks held the 18th pick of the draft, if they took Gray Zabel, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State, or if they took the safety Nick Emenwari from South Carolina, they took either one of those guys, I would have been happy. They were able to see Emenwari slip and fall into the early second round, had the draft capital to come up and get that dude. So absolutely fantastic. I love that. Elijah Arroyo, the tight end out of Miami. Love that dude. Saw him making plays all over the field at Miami. And here's what it really comes down to for me, RG, is I'm a huge college football fan. So what do I say on Saturdays if I'm watching a game? That dude is dope. I want him on the Seahawks. I'm gonna toot my own horn for a minute. For 3 years, I wanted Cam Ward to be on the Seahawks, and this guy developed and got so damn good. He was the first pick of the draft. Kudos to him. And when we're talking about people and the imperfect science, Cam Ward was a 0-star recruit. The only college that wanted him was Incarnate Ward. I guarantee you, I'd never heard of that before he went there. Then he goes to tiny Pullman, Washington, which is much closer to Idaho than what everyone thinks that Seattle is. Then he goes to Miami, balls out, is the very first pick. And then, of course, the Seahawks draft Jalen Milroe out of Alabama, the super fast, electric quarterback. Third round, right time to pick him. Not a first round prospect to me because he's so rough around the edges. It's still a gamble because if you watched him play Georgia, I thought he was the first pick of the draft. I watched him play Oklahoma, and I think he's an undraftable player. So where exactly does he fit? The good news for my Seahawks, they got Sam Darnold. We got Drew Lock now in the fold, your favorite quarterback. So now we are in position to try to slowly develop this quarterback. But talking about quarterbacks, man, I never thought Shador Sanders was necessarily a top five pick, bro. But what I saw out of him in my amateur eye is a guy that throws with accuracy, anticipation, and he's tough as nails, getting his ass kicked back there playing for Colorado. One thing I also like is guys that uplift a program. People be talking that shit that the dude was 13 and 12 at Colorado. But you know what I'll tell you? The 19 years before the Sanders family and Travis Hunter showed up at Colorado, they had one winning season in the 19 previous years. So everything is graded on a scale. Why have most Ohio State quarterbacks flopped in the NFL? Because they played on an all star team their entire college career. It's not fair in college football. You have the haves and have nots. You got your New Mexico that's going to try to play in Alabama or some team like that just so they can fund their athletic department. So everything needs to be put in perspective. There's got to be some reasons behind the scenes why Shador fell to the fifth round. I don't understand what the Browns are doing at all as a franchise, drafting Gabriel in the third, Shador in the fifth. But all I know is I think Shador Sanders should have been a late first to second round pick. In my humble opinion, he doesn't have all of the physical attributes of a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson, but at the end of the day, RG, if you throw with accuracy and anticipation, I like you.
Let's get to some of the people in the chat real quick. Texas Power Ranger. I know the Texans drafted teammate wide receivers from Iowa State and a beast of a tackle in the left round. And I mean, in the second round, you do need some protection for CJ Stroud. Tyson Baxter says the Ravens took one out of the Eagles playbook and drafted a Bulldog in the first round. There were a couple people who took that out of our playbook and drafted a Georgia Bulldog in the first round. Tyson also asked what were the Browns doing uh, drafting two quarterbacks. And then we got some people chopping it up right now in the live chat, giving their thoughts on the whole Shador situation. I thought it was nice that Cam Ward went first. Um, then Jacksonville made a play to go get Travis Hunter because I think they're the only team who really can allow him to do what he wants to do. and play on both sides of the ball, and that could be a benefit to him them if it does pay off. The Eagles are obviously our plan in the draft is what it is. We only want you if you've played in the SEC, and we drafted another Georgia Bulldog. So uh, just to keep that high level of, and we went young too. We most of our picks were on the defense, and then drafted an old lineman who, if he could develop, can maybe slide in for the future Hall of Famer Lane Johnson, as he is now obviously teeing off on the 18th in his career, and hats off to him for all he's done being an Eagle. Let's get to the elephant in the room, Shador Sanders. Got in this conversation with some people at work, and I said, I think it's unfair. I think it's very unfair for us to sit here and talk about his attitude. We do a lot less in our jobs, and we think that we're irreplaceable as well too. And we'll walk around with that chip on our shoulder and act like our shit don't stink either. Um, and then plus, when you are a young man who has had the financial success that he has, he didn't grow up poor, and he's made a lot of money in college football over the last 2 years. You aren't teaching him a lesson, putting him through this. What you're doing is lighting a fire up underneath him. And I'm one of the guys who believe that you just might have pissed off the most dangerous quarterback that was available in the draft. And I'm one of those people where, if you doubt me to be able to do something, not only do I want to go out and prove that I'm just as good as I told you I was, when I get there, I'm going to rub your fucking face in it. Let's hope to God Shador Sanders does not find a way to make the Cleveland Browns a relevant football team and then rub all of our faces in it, because between him and his daddy, we ain't going to ever hear the end of it. And then I also think it's unfair too to say a lot of that was on Dion. Dion hasn't helped an NFL team do shit in almost 20 years now. But when he was in the league, that dude fucking balled. And not only balled at one sport, balled in two sports. Let's not forget, had the Braves not choked away the World Series against the Blue Jays, Deion Sanders wins MVP of that World Series against the Toronto Blue Jays. The dude hit 500 in a fucking World Series as a full-time football player. Talent, when you walk with that swag, it just is what it is. And of course, you're going to say some shit that rubs people the wrong way. But most of the big time confident people do. Michael Jordan punched teammates in the face. Kobe Bryant told you he was the best in the world. There's not a single one of us who didn't buy a pay-per-view when Conor McGregor was fucking fighting. And then now all of a sudden we don't like cockiness and don't like people to talk shit. It's a fucking cop out. But I hope the guy does well. I really hope the guy does well. He got his moment. That's really all we were watching for. And God, if that dude sets the world on fire, it's fucking nuts. I think that Cleveland drafted two quarterbacks because they're trying to find a way to rid the room of the stench of what the fuck they did for Deshaun Watson. And then they're hoping that they pick two guys who have no reason to visit a Cuyahoga massage parlor. But they needed to do something, and they're gonna have now two cracks to be able to try to replace Deshaun Watson, and hope that one of them lands. So maybe we might be crazy, um, but we'll see how it is. We'll see how it plays out. There's a reason why we watch every Sunday, to see how these things play out and go. Overall, I thought that most teams had an agenda. They tried to stick to it. The one team who I never understand what the fuck they do in the draft is the Saints. Um, but yeah, man, his job is, yeah, absolutely Gillen, whether you like him or not. The Shador Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, both of their resumes currently say NFL quarterback. So up to them to be able to go out and do what is necessary to get them over the hump, man. But Michigan had a good showing in the draft, had three guys picked in the top 15. Ohio State had 14 players drafted, which I believe is almost just as many as they had off their 2002 national championship team. So, and then the one guy who I'm excited to see what he'll be able to do is Cam Scatterbo. That dude plays with a chip on his shoulder, and we love it. You know, he'll tell you he told you he was the best running back in America and should have won the Heisman Trophy. We like it when certain people do it, but we don't like it when it comes from someone as brash as the Sanders family does. I just don't understand. I just don't understand not being able to take it with both sides of the sword. But hey, they did great numbers. I just thought it was funny for them to talk about how the entire Green Bay population was standing in the parking lot watching the draft. didn't didn't realize didn't realize that their numbers were that small as far as the population goes. But overall, I thought they put on a great productive show over 3 days. You got the drama of watching someone slip and fall. You got to see a lot of guys battle adversity. There was a one player, I forget his name. His mom died a couple hours after he was drafted.
Hmm.
So RIP to his mom and condolences to that family. But you know, it's human drama at its best, and the NFL draft is just never fails to deliver on making a draft good watchable TV. Because really, for the NBA draft, you're watching for the first 10 picks, and then you don't give a damn after that. And the baseball draft is so damn long, you aren't gonna sit there and watch 40 rounds of that shit. And you have to really give a damn about hockey to pay attention to the the NHL draft. So NFL does a great job of how they're marketed. They're obviously the big dog in this country when it comes to sports eyes. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get to May 13th to find out or is it 14th? May 13th or 14th to find out who's playing who, what time is playing. Let's book some trips, schedule some games, and it'll be right around the corner before it's time to kick it off again.
Man, we need the Seahawks and Eagles to play again now since we become friends. Shit, dude.
Shit, you don't want none of us.
Yeah,
You
maybe
don't
not.
you don't want none of us.
Hey, we're coming. We're coming. Tyson's saying we're starting to take on a little Baltimore roster construction, of course, with our new head coach. I want to get into a little bit of what I think about some of the other teams within the context of some of our live chatters because we know there's fans of teams other than the Seahawks. But to jump on what you said just a minute ago, Derek Harmon was the young man, defensive tackle drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, whose mom passed away, like you said, just hours after he was drafted. But I just want to say, what a great young man. And in a culture like mine, you're taught to take great pride in taking care of your parents. And this guy spent all his NIL money to take care of his mom while her health was declining. So, just my deepest condolences to Derek Harmon. We both know how it feels to lose your mother. And regardless of how you feel about her personally, it's a hole in your heart you will never be able to repair. So, my deepest condolences to the Harmon family and a shout out to him, Derek Harmon, as a man. A lot of guys could have put their money on fancy cars and fancy jewelry, and he knew what was most important and was taking care of his mom. So, my biggest kudos to the young man, Derek Harmon. I wish him all the wealth and health that the NFL could possibly bring him. Now I want to go to your Philadelphia Eagles, dude. And I love their first two picks so much. Jihad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama, might be the most savvy pick of the draft, him or Nick Emenwari, in terms of quality of player versus where he was drafted. Now, we don't really know how these guys are going to turn out, but the draft is kind of an economic exercise of getting the best value you can. And Andrew Makuba out of Texas. I'm gonna tell you, RG, you want to YouTube too, guys. In the last 2 to 3 seasons, the two best hits in college football the last 2 to 3 years are from Jihad Campbell and Makuba. So check those dudes out. We're talking about quarterbacks with their helmets flying 5 yards for both of them. So your Eagles brought in a couple of heavy hitters. I see you smiling. Philadelphia was built on hitting hard. That's what I know.
Just remember the highlight of the Super Bowl is Jalen Carter with his hands in Mahomes' face.
The greatest no call ever.
Fantastic. Fantastic. But yeah, man, shout out to everybody who made moves. Hopefully we get everybody healthy, see who's going to play where. And next step is to get excited for the roster release. And then after that, they're going to drop college football and Madden together from what I'm hearing this year. And you already know what's going down, baby.
I might have to get back on the Madden train. I took a little year or two hiatus from that wonderful game, but they're going to drop it together. These motherfuckers, they got to get as much money as they can as possible. Video games are so damn expensive nowadays. It's not
Mhm.
like EA needs the money, but they know where to get it. I want to touch on Tyson Baxter for a minute and his Baltimore Ravens. Malachi Starks, the free safety out of Georgia, was such a smart pick by the Ravens. We know they have all pro stud safety in Hamilton,
Kyle Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton. And having a true free safety center fielder like Malachi Starks is going to free them up to use him or use Hamilton wherever they want on the field. So that just opens up so many possibilities for their defense. And then their second round pick, edge rusher Mike Green, he fell because let's just be frank. He has a couple of sexual assault allegations on his resume. Otherwise, that guy's a lockdown first round pick. It worries the shit out of me if I was drafting him and trying to give him millions of dollars. That's not my job, so I don't have to make that decision. And the biggest point I want to make, RG, is I never try to decide what happened in those situations because there's only two people that know. So I never try to act like I know what happened behind closed doors, but they just hit home runs on two of their first round picks. And then Houston. I saw Texas Power Ranger. Anybody who likes a little Big 12 football at all knows that Iowa State was led by two fantastic wide receivers. I would have been thrilled if the Seahawks drafted Higgins or Noel. The Texans go out and get both of them. And Arante Ursary, offensive tackle from Minnesota. RG, in a conference that has Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, kind of throwback type of programs. Ursary was the offensive lineman of the year in the Big Ten. That screams volumes to me, considering the conference.
Yeah, man, a lot of depth in that conference, and believe that the alignments and the way that they worked out give a lot of guys a lot of chance to shine and to raise their stock. So good for those young men. Good for good for all of those young men. Miles Hinton, the offensive lineman that we got from Michigan, um, to hopefully be able to come in and help solidify some things now that we might be looking to fill a hole as Lane Johnson, like I said, is teeing off on the backside of his career. But again, it's all lottery. You never know how it's going to be until those guys get in there and perform. You hear me say with baseball all the time, their prospects is suspect until they get in there and prove that they can impact winning. And also remember too, this thing isn't the perfect science. We listen to them tell us Jamarcus Russell was the next best thing that was going to
Mm-hmm.
be popping. Uh, we listened to them tell us that Zach Wilson was gonna come in and change the game because he was underrated, and the only thing that dude is known for is in MILF country. So yeah, man, just a lot that can happen. But NFL drafts are just exciting, man. I didn't think that they were going to hit a home run having it in Green Bay, but boy, I was wrong. They had some great crowds
I
all
couldn't
all
believe
week
it.
and some good excitement and some good fun, man. So yeah, man. Shout out to the NFL for putting on another good production and finding a way to make us give a fuck about football in the middle of April.
They know how to run their business, man. I can't say that for every sports league, but the NFL knows exactly how to run their business. Maris Cypher's asking us about the 49ers, and I hate that I love their draft, bro. Because all they did was stock up on defense and get some defensive line studs to help Nick Bosa out. That team, when their defensive line is humming, that's when they're dangerous. They were very mortal this year because teams could attack them on defense. And yes, the Niners did steal a page out of Howie Roseman's playbook and took an edge rusher from Georgia with their first pick. But I just want to say another thing about the NFL draft, dude, is I like it from the people aspect. Like we know that a lot of these football players are coming from the baddest hoods across the country, and it's changing lives for families. And I always root for people to come up in the world because I am a people person, and it I just like to see the fortunes of families that had some rough times. I love to see those times change for the positive, and that's another reason I love the draft so much. I love seeing the emotion of these players and their families when they hear their name called. I just love the human aspect of it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Shout out to everybody who got to experience that and got to live for those moments. Just unreal, man. Could you imagine in the course of an afternoon? Well, I know that some guys have some money in their pocket from NIL deals, but the one guy, I forget his name, when he got drafted, he looked and told his mom, "Put in your 2 weeks. You ain't got to work no more." Shit like that is awesome. Would beloved be able to do that to change the course of a family, as long as you do the right thing by it. Now you got to honor the gift, and that's just almost as tough as you coming through the combine in the process as well, too, finding a way to maintain the blessing that you were just bestowed.
Well said, man. Well said.
Yes, sir.
It's exciting. There's so many positives. It's the one day of the, or I guess the weekend of the year now, where every NFL fan and every NFL organization feels optimistic. Even if you're the Cleveland Browns of all teams, I still have no clue what they're doing. But
True.
and that's also why we watch. We always look when there's a car crash on the side of the highway. Same type of shit, dude.
Yes, sir. I sent you that clip. There were dudes in Kansas City when they drafted Mahomes who were screaming, "Oh God, we'll never win another Super Bowl." so so yeah, man. Again, you just never know. You just never know what you got until you let them young men get out there and play. We could touch on some NBA real quick. Some of the matchups are exciting. Some of them are turning ways that we thought they would. Tyler's favorite team, the Oklahoma City
Ugh.
Thunder, swept their way into the semis already, so they're moving on. The Lakers got pushed to the brink today, so now they're down 3-1. Houston and the Golden State Warriors has been a really entertaining series to try to watch. Don't think the Pistons have a chance to come back against the Knicks. And again, I think the one that's going to turn into be the best matchup of the first round is Denver and the Clippers. And that buzzer beater, that was just nuts, man. That was just nuts. Reminds me of the Suns playoff run where Aiden got that dunk at the very end of the game. And I want to say we were playing the Clippers too. So yeah, they are definitely vulnerable for that. My Washington Capitals went up 3-1 today and have a chance to go on ahead and move on in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Hell of a fight the other night that we got in. Tom Wilson, just that dude gives no fucks and takes no prisoners, and I'm absolutely happy that he is on my team. So yeah, a lot of still a lot of good sports to be able to check out and watch before we enter into the dog days of summer, and just be staring at the TV waiting for football to come back and start. Anything else anybody got in the live chat? We're happy to some of you that have followed us. We've been kind of watching the screen. We've had some people tune in tonight. This has been one of the most watched shows that we've had in this format, and happy for each and every one of you that have had a chance to not only tune in, but you stayed around to hear me and Tyler chop up and give you our opinions on sports. Anything else that anybody from the chat wants to add and throw into the show? Anything you got for the people before we put a wrap on this thing?
I just got two quick things. Shout out to everyone in the live chat. I know I'm a broken record about it, but y'all have brought so much fire and energy to this show. Y'all are an irreplaceable part of this thing. And then I also got to give one big shout out to the best boss on the planet. No, it's not mine. It's my wife, Katie. Adrian is a giant Mariners fan. He's a regular listener. So shout out to my wife's boss, Adrian. Happy birthday, bro. Thanks for being such a good boss to my wonderful wife.
Sir, happy to have you. Tay Williams, man, welcome back. Haven't seen your name in a while. The Cowboys draft good. I couldn't tell you. Don't nobody give a fuck about what they do up here. I don't know, man. You got some insight for us, Tay? What do you think about the draft? I kind of delay the closing a little bit to let you get your shit off. Tell me how you feel about your Cowboys. Yeah,
I
man,
know how
it's
I feel.
exciting.
Dude, their
Fuck
first
them.
round pick, Tyler Booker, dude. That dude's a fucking monster. That
He
dude
is.
is a monster. You want to talk about opening holes? Woo!
That fat boy from Bama.
And the fat boys need love too, bro.
I'm sorry for those of you who are listening to the podcast who don't get a chance to see the live show with the interaction screen. I asked Tay to give us a thought about Cowboys, and he says all I know is we got that fat boy from Bama.
Oh shit, dude.
Oh man. It's fantastic, man. This is why we do this, man. This is why we do this. Love to have a platform where we can bring people together and talk about sports. For those of you who are watching, we're back at a high number. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, follow us, man. Follow us, help us grow. We are very interactive. We communicate with the chat. You guys help make this show what it is, and we are grateful for each and every one of you. This is My Oh My, it's another sports podcast brought to you exclusively by the good folks of Vaden Podcast Services, making it happen each and every single week. Shout out to our man Indy, holding down mission control from Nashville, Tennessee. Check out his music page while you're here on YouTube, Death to Indy. Boy's got some good tracks. And we always join and welcome to anybody in the live chat. Drop Indy a line and come and join us and be on the broadcast side of this thing once in a while we do this as well, too. Again, we couldn't do most of this without our social media director, Katie Matsumoto. Thank you for what you do, helping keep us present on all of our social media platforms. Follow us on those social media platforms at My Oh My ASP. It's in the top corner there with the links. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Follow us here on YouTube. If you can't be a part of the live show, we are we do drop the podcast on platforms where you like to get your favorite podcast from each and every Tuesday. That on my left side here is the greatest co-host I could ever ask for. My man Ty Talks 22, representing Nashville, Tennessee. Again, the man in mission controls that helps give us this platform and make it all possible. Indie with Vaden Podcast Services from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm that dude RG representing the Cinco Cero Cinco 505 Nuevo Mexico in the building. Stand up, Bootcamp. We'll see everybody next week for another live episode of My Oh My. It's another sports podcast. Again, thank you all for joining. For the numbers of you that are watching, that you guys have put a smile on my face. Subscribe to us, like to us, critique us, whatever it is. Just interact with us and come back and see us next week. Happy to have you all. Thank you for tuning in to My Oh My. It's another sports podcast.